Would someone get the woman to bring us more coffee? We have real aviators trying to solve a real crisis here. The cutting words sliced through the tension in the Pentagon briefing room. Colonel Bradley, a man whose arrogance matched his collection of aerial victories, gestured dismissively toward the corner, where a young woman in plain service fatigues quietly arranged refreshments. His squadron buddies, a gathering of hotshot pilots in pressed flight suits, rewarded him with knowing chuckles. They were the elite, the chosen, the ones who mattered. In that corner, Sergeant Elena Vasquez continued her task with steady hands, her posture revealing nothing. Her silence in the face of the insult was more profound than any comeback. But from the head of the mahogany conference table, General Harrison observed what others missed. He noticed the almost imperceptible way she positioned her feet, a subtle stance distribution he hadn't witnessed since his own days at Navy test pilot school. There was something about how she carried herself that spoke of sky and speed and danger conquered. The crisis was the revolutionary F-47 Phantom, America's next-generation stealth fighter designed to dominate airspace for decades. Instead, it had become a $25 billion hangar ornament. 3 identical failures in 2 weeks. During high-speed combat maneuvers, the right engine would experience sudden power loss, sending the aircraft into an unrecoverable death spiral. The simulators couldn't recreate it. The engineers were baffled. Careers hung in the balance. Colonel Bradley strutted before the wall-mounted displays, showing catastrophic telemetry readings. "It's clearly pilot error," he announced with characteristic certainty. "These new fly-by-wire systems are fighting natural instincts. You need someone with genuine feel for the aircraft, not some computer operator." He glanced pointedly at Sergeant Vasquez, who now stood motionless by the exit. "Real flying is about gut instinct, something you can't learn from textbooks." Her response was absolute stillness, a complete absence of reaction that seemed to absorb his condescension like a black hole absorbs light. The chief engineer, Dr. Mitchell, finally spoke with trembling voice. "Colonel, respectfully, the forces involved exceed human correction capability. The spiral occurs instantaneously. We've exhausted every computational model. There's no solution." Heavy silence descended. Budgets, careers, and national defense capabilities teetered on the edge of disaster. General Harrison surveyed his assembled experts, America's brightest aeronautical minds. All he saw were defeated expressions and clenched fists. "Is that our conclusion?" The general's voice carried decades of command authority. "No one in this room has additional insights?" The responding silence was surrender itself. Then came a new sound, measured footsteps on polished marble. Sergeant Elena Vasquez was walking from the door toward the massive projection screen at the room's front. Colonel Bradley scoffed incredulously. "What's this supposed to be? Sergeant, return to your station immediately." She didn't hesitate. She reached the display, selected a digital marker, and activated it with a quiet electronic beep. The entire room held its breath. Without speaking a single word, she began. What emerged wasn't amateur guesswork, but pure aerodynamic genius. Her hand moved with practiced precision, sketching complex mathematical relationships that described the exact forces Colonel Bradley had so crudely oversimplified. She drew fluid dynamics equations, illustrated pressure differential maps, and created airflow visualizations with breathtaking accuracy and speed. Her rendering of the F-47's airframe was technically perfect, showing how a microscopic vibration in the starboard stabilizer created a resonance cascade that strangled engine airflow at precisely 68 G-force. Then she presented the solution. Not pilot retraining, but an elegant mechanical modification, a small aerodynamic tab that would eliminate the destructive vibration before it reached critical frequency. It was brilliant, it was elegant, it was undeniable. A collective gasp filled the room. Colonel Bradley stood frozen, his mouth open, his confidence shattered into fragments.
That's impossible, he whispered, his voice barely audible. The silence that followed was her complete vindication. General Harrison rose slowly, his attention focused not on the equations, but on the woman who had created them. He walked past the stunned experts and positioned himself beside her as she replaced the marker. He didn't examine her face. His eyes found her right shoulder. There, sewn precisely above her name tape, was a small embroidered patch roughly the size of a silver dollar. It was midnight blue, with a silver aircraft silhouette ascending through stylized clouds. Around the perimeter, tiny lettering read 21 Squadron. It was insignia virtually no one in the military would recognize. Even fewer would understand its significance. It represented the ultra-classified unit of experimental test pilots who flew prototypes that didn't officially exist. The general's expression transformed from confusion to deep respect. He knew exactly what he was witnessing. He was looking at a ghost from the Black Ops world standing in his briefing room. He turned to address the assembly, his voice now a command that resonated like thunder. "Aide, display her complete service record on the main screen, immediately." The aide frantically worked his tablet. Moments later, the mathematical masterpiece was replaced by an official personnel file. The name read Elena Vasquez, but the details below sucked oxygen from the room. Rank, Major. Status, Active Duty, Special Projects Division. Flight hours, 3,200. The aircraft she was qualified to pilot scrolled across the screen, a catalog of the most advanced and classified prototypes of the past 5 years. Her specialty was listed in stark military terminology: high-performance aerodynamics and asymmetric propulsion systems. Disbelief became awe. The room buzzed with amazed whispers. General Harrison turned back to Major Vasquez, drew himself to full height, and delivered the sharpest, most respectful salute of his distinguished career. "Major Vasquez, I apologize for my command's ignorance. The floor is yours." She returned his salute with crisp military precision. The story became legend overnight. It spread from Pentagon corridors to flight lines across globe. They called it the equation. Pilots spoke reverently about the quiet sergeant who emerged from shadows and in 5 minutes of silent brilliance rescued America's most advanced fighter program. The legend expanded with each retelling. They said she sketched the final modifications on a paper napkin during lunch. They said she piloted the first test flight herself, pushing the F-47 beyond design limits and returning without incident. The projection screen was photographed, the images printed and displayed in squadron-ready rooms worldwide with a simple caption: "Never underestimate quiet competence." Major Vasquez became more than a symbol of rank or achievement. She represented the truth that expertise creates its own authority, and genuine professionals need no introduction. Their work speaks in languages more powerful than words. The following morning, Colonel Bradley found her in the F-47 simulator facility, quietly observing junior pilots practice emergency procedures. He approached her not as a superior officer, but as a student seeking wisdom. "Major," he began, his voice stripped of all former arrogance, "there's no excuse for yesterday's behavior. I was unprofessional and completely wrong. I've been reviewing your calculations all night. I still don't fully grasp the resonance dynamics. If you have time, could you explain the principles?" Major Vasquez looked at him with an unreadable expression, and then gave a single, decisive nod. It was acceptance, forgiveness, an invitation to learn. 6 months later, the F-47 Phantom dominated skies worldwide. The Vasquez modification, a small metal component costing under $2,000, had unlocked a $25 billion program's full potential. New pilots assigned to Phantom squadrons weren't first shown cockpit controls. They were shown the laminated photograph of equations on a projection screen. They heard the story of the quiet major who wore sergeant stripes to a meeting because her flight suit was oil-stained by personally diagnosing problems others couldn't solve. She sought neither politics nor recognition. She was interested only in problems and the satisfaction of solutions found. Her legacy wasn't medals or promotions, though she received both. Her true legacy was cultural transformation within a warrior community. A permanent reminder that the most dangerous person in any room is often the one others overlook. Subscribe to Tales of Valor for more stories where silent competence triumphs over loud arrogance and where quiet heroes define their worth through precision, not proclamation.